You're watching 48 Fastcast.
Thank you for joining us. I'm Margot Gray with your 48 Fastcast. This is your digital version in a condensed 10-minute newscast. So a former Huntsville daycare worker facing multiple child sex abuse charges, will make his first court appearance next week. Records show 24-year-old Cameron White will have a preliminary hearing next Wednesday, February 4th. He was arrested and charged with 2 counts of sexual abuse of a child last week. Since then, multiple families have filed lawsuits against White and Trinity United Methodist Church Child Development Center. Today was the first day students returned to the school and that daycare after new safety precautions were put in place after the allegations. WAFF 48's Faith Delp will have more on this story coming up in our later newscast.
We've seen our highs finally come out of freezing for a lot of areas, but right now we are tracking a first alert weather day for your Saturday. I'll show you that in a moment. What we're looking outside at the moment, we're seeing 565 flowing smoothly, 40 degrees outside at the moment. Feels a bit nicer than where we were in the past couple of days. Some of our areas just over the state line still dealing with some of those upper and mid 30s. So we'll meet them there in the next couple of hours with that sunset heating. We're going to lose that daytime heating. And as we go into the overnight hours, dropping it back into those low end 20s. Once again, we'll see these 20s hang around the forecast before getting into the teens by Friday and Saturday. We're expecting to see another Arctic blast, kind of reinforcing that cold chill that we've already got going on overnight. But as you can see, Saturday's high expected to be about 25, and we are expecting to see some possible snow flurries in between Friday and Saturday, on and off throughout the day. So far, not expecting much of it to stick, but some areas could see a snowy day going into their Saturday. I'll walk you through a full look at the forecast in a couple moments.
A former Decatur police officer charged with murder made his case for immunity from prosecution in front of the Alabama Supreme Court today. This is a video of Mac Marquette's legal team asking the highest court in the state to grant him immunity over the shooting death of Steve Perkins in 2023. Marquette is charged with shooting Perkins during a truck repossession, citing the shooting was in self-defense. The state Supreme Court did not make any decision today. Marquette is scheduled to go to trial in June. The ICE agents involved in the fatal shooting of Alex Preddy in Minnesota are now on administrative leave. Preddy, an ICU nurse, was shot and killed during an encounter with ICE agents last weekend. The 2 agents involved in the shooting were not identified. A spokesperson from the Department of Homeland Security says the department will, quote, let the facts lead the investigation, end quote. This comes as Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem is facing calls for her removal from her position. Well, a bill was introduced to raise Alabama's minimum wage. I'll tell you about the details after this quick break. Minimum wage workers in Alabama could see a raise. A bill was introduced to raise the state minimum wage to $10 an hour. I know that's going to shock you. Alabama is one of only 5 states to not implement a state minimum wage, currently using the federal level of $7.25 an hour. It hasn't changed for decades. State Senator Robert Stewart says low minimum wage offers the bare minimum for many Alabamians, forcing them to use government aid for basic needs. He says with inflation, rising change is needed.
If we have somebody working at Walmart or a fast food chain making $8 an hour, the state is going to pick up the rest of that on SNAP, Medicaid, and housing assistance. And so, again, Alabama taxpayers should not be forced to subsidize billion-dollar companies that refuse to pay a livable wage.
If the bill passes, the new minimum wage would take effect next year.
Now, your first alert weather forecast with Jada Russell.
We've had a beautiful day thus far, not too many clouds in the sky, and you'll notice it feels much better outside than, say, Monday, even Sunday afternoon, where it was frigid in the earlier parts of the week, but we're getting back to that forecast in the next few days. So looking outside of Decatur, again, folks moving along and the traffic just fine. Seems like our roadways are back on track, which is good to note. And as we get that Arctic blast this weekend, thankfully, we aren't going to see any other icy road conditions going into the weekend, so that's good to note. But here's what we're doing for the next 12 hours. Seeing that nice and clear forecast going into the overnight hours. 20s is where we'll sit going into Thursday morning. We will start to see those clouds increase going into the day as well. So for folks getting out for work, it may be a little overcast as you head out the door for tomorrow morning. Here's our forecast for Thursday, expecting well above freezing, 45 being the high. Some areas will see around 43 going into the afternoon. But again, that start to the morning will be quite brisk. So make sure you are layering correctly, especially with your students waiting out for the bus or walking to school in the mornings. It's very chilly, and we'll keep these 20s and even teens around the forecast for the next few days. So let's go ahead and walk through that. I showed you Thursday and what that was going to look like. Most of that was cloud cover, but we are keeping an eye out for the slight possibility of some snow flurries coming in Friday. This is a model run that's been a little inconsistent on that, but what we are starting to notice is that that'll pass through most of the central area of the valley here, and then our communities just along the Georgia state line, we'll start to see a possible flurry as well. Overnight tonight, seeing those 20s, and like I mentioned, forecast getting into some teens for the next few days. We're expecting to see a first alert weather day on Saturday, and we'll see a lot of those temperatures dropping into those teens by that point. Very frigid weather, but we get back above freezing by the time we get to Sunday and into the following work week. It's just those mornings will start a little brisk for you. Next rain chance will be next Thursday.
All right, that'll do it for your 48 Fastcast. We'll be back online shortly with Before the 4, hosted by AJ Wiest. And then don't forget to catch us on air for WAFF 48 News' top stories around the Tennessee Valley and beyond. You can catch us at 4, 5, 6, and 10. I'll be here for all of them. I'm soloing today, so tune in. Thanks for watching. Have a great Wednesday.